Okay, I think YouTube is working. So if anyone wants to see my screen, they can go to YouTube. If not, you can just chill here with me on Instagram. Okay, now we're live on both. But yeah, let's get pumped for these big tech earnings, because this is like the Super Bowl day. We got Apple, Microsoft, Google. What up, guys? What up, Boosted? Another crash is coming? I don't know. You'd have to really have some fear. I feel like around, like, the Delta variant was a nice little, I would say, story to scare people. But unless something is, unless it's really ramping up and we have shutdowns again, I don't see that causing a crash. I honestly see a crash more around changes with the Fed policy versus anything. Okay, so let's see if we have any news related to what's come out. So I usually go to the investor relations. Let's see if they actually release it. Usually I see some article on Yahoo Finance first. But whichever one comes in first. Usually you can kind of tell by the after-hour moves if something actually has come out. So let's take a look at Google. I don't think anything's come out yet. But yeah, I wonder, I feel like this earnings, these three earnings will pretty much decide the movement for tomorrow. Now, we did have, like a slight down day. But Microsoft, Google, Apple, that's basically like 15% of the S&P 500. I don't know what percentage of NASDAQ, but basically these earnings will have a big impact on tomorrow's move. That's for sure. Let's see if anyone is on. So we got 2 people on YouTube. What up, peeps? So I've never done a live call or not call, but live stream for earnings. So we'll see if stuff actually comes out on time. I know it's 3:06. But not seeing anything come out yet. Microsoft is down 2.5% after hours, so their numbers must have came out. That's usually how you can tell. There's actual movement after hours versus stagnant. So Google really hasn't moved too much, down 0.3%. Apple down 0.6 or like 0.26, but Microsoft is down close to 3%. So let me go to it's always annoying that I can't find the press release. James, so I don't really read books on trading per se. For me, the only investing book or the books that I've read are investing related. I would check out one up on Wall Street. That's pretty solid for beginners. Facebook. Man, it would be nice to okay, finally something. It's like Yahoo Finance always has the inside scoop here. So Microsoft beat earning expectations on cloud. Okay, so we actually have some numbers to talk about here. So Microsoft came out, revenue 46 billion versus 44 billion on revenue. Earnings per share was higher. When you look at the cloud, that also came in higher. 17.38 versus 16.4. Honestly, like across the board, it just looks like they hit on all of their numbers. So if we take a look at what it's doing after hours, it's down around 3%. It'd really be nice to see like a earnings release or press release. Okay, here we go. We got something on the Microsoft website here. So business highlights, they're talking about productivity and business processes were up around 25%. So obviously, I mean, I think when it comes to Microsoft and companies moving more and more remote and more into the cloud, I mean, it just makes sense that that number is just going to continue to grow. And then when it comes to the cloud, which I feel like everyone is looking at, $17.4 billion worth of revenue, which was an increase of 30%. And then personal computing, I mean, I don't think anyone is really expecting too much growth there, up 9%. I mean, overall, Microsoft's numbers look pretty solid. But the move is down 2.7%. Yeah, Microsoft beats. But here's the thing. With Microsoft, Google, and Apple, I just feel like it's going to be all inside moves. Meaning we're only down slightly or up just a little bit. The reason I think so is just because we've had such a run up in the S&P 500. Like if I look at the SPY, right? I mean, like a week ago, we were crashing down to that like 420 level on the S&P 500, but a lot of these companies have rallied a decent amount going into earnings. So looking at Microsoft, it looks like they beat and pretty much met expectations. Let's see if Google reported yet. Or Apple, either one. Let's see. I'm not seeing anything, so let's just look at the chat. People cashing out on big moves up. I mean, it makes sense. These companies are already pretty massive, so oops. Had a call come in, pause the live stream. I mean, you saw what happened with Tesla. I mean, we can briefly talk about Tesla as well. Tesla was, you know, all the numbers came in really good, but Tesla's already priced to perfection, so it's kind of hard to have a huge move when the market's already expecting that. Let's see. Hey, what's going on, guys? Oh, I didn't even notice people are in the YouTube stream. Okay, so people are asking while we wait for Google and Apple to come out with something. People are worried about everything going on with Chinese stocks. And this is kind of why I've talked about Chinese stocks in the past and I don't really touch them, is just because there's so much uncertainty when it comes to regulation, and the government can have a pretty big influence, whereas at least with US companies, you're not going to have something so drastic come out like your company can no longer be profitable. So like all those educational stocks, TAL, that's the only one I can think of that comes to mind. I mean, DD is getting crushed. BABA is probably the only stock I would be interested in touching right now, would be BABA, like if I was going to invest in Chinese stocks, but normally I don't. So that's kind of where, so adhering to my own rule, which is they're unpredictable. Even though they look like they may be trading at a discount, there's probably a reason. Hey, Google, up 2% after hours. Something must have came out. Up 1%, but there's movement, so there has to be some news. It's when you want Yahoo Finance to, I feel like they have the inside scoop or some type of bot that writes a article instantly. Oh, okay, we got a press release for Google. It came up. Good deal. All right, so revenues came in. Wow, look at that. 61 $1.8 billion in revenue for quarter 2. It's a 62% increase from last year. Their operating margin 31% versus 17%. I mean, looking at the difference between last year versus this year, Google is printing money. And I'm pretty sure the estimate for EPS was like 19. Came in around, diluted EPS was $27.26. These numbers look really good for Google. It'd be nice to know what the total expectations were. Let's see, in terms of, I wish they gave us percentages on this thing. The cloud pretty much grew over 50%, which I feel like is a number people are going to be looking at. And advertising. I mean, they're basically advertising in the cloud at this point. And then they have like their moonshots. Yeah, Google's out. Honestly, just looking at these numbers, they definitely beat across the board. And if I just look at, actually this analysis button I think tells us. So the revenue estimate for this quarter was supposed to be like 56 billion. That was the average across 30 analysts. They came in at what? They came in at 61 or like 62 billion. So they crushed. Now, they crushed, but they're only up 3%. 3.5%. Oh, it's moving up, guys. VIX spike back tomorrow? I don't know. Where's the VIX right now? But let's talk about the VIX after I look at Apple. Let's see if Apple... Did Apple come out yet, guys? Does not look like anything came out for Apple yet. I am not seeing anything. How many people we got? Yeah, estimated revenue. Omar on YouTube. Yeah, 56.1. Yeah, those numbers like that 27 for EPS also. The estimate for Google was supposed to be, where is it? $19.21. So $19.21 estimate versus $27.26. I mean, that margin is pretty crazy. The thing about Google and all these companies, especially Google, less so about Apple because they're more hardware related. But since Google is such software based, their margins, I mean, if they can increase their revenues by 60% year over year, their margins are going to expand. Yeah, wow. 3.5%. I mean, 3.5% move on Google. I mean, what is that? 0.0. Yeah, I mean, you're adding around 6 billion. It's not too much. But overall, I think Google, the numbers came in pretty good. So we'll wait for Apple to report, unless anyone sees already what Apple is. Dude, 0 questions answered. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen. Trying to report on the actual earnings. So, pause due to poor connection. That's not good. Someone asked about the VIX on the Instagram stream. I mean, where's the VIX right now? I know we had a little spike today. Got up to 20, but back down to 19. I think it really comes down to these big tech earnings. I mean, Google was solid. Microsoft is only down 2%, but Microsoft beat. So really waiting on Apple. I mean, Apple is going to have the largest impact on the overall sentiment of tomorrow, just because it is the largest company out there. It's currently trading at $2.5 trillion. So yeah, hopefully Yeah, what earnings are you watching? I'm really just waiting for Apple. I was watching Microsoft and Google, which, I mean, if I look at my overall portfolio, like I'm pretty heavy in big tech. So Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook is my biggest position. So I'm obviously, I mean, the most important report for my portfolio is Facebook. Inflation or delta variation, which one is worse for you? My biggest fear is probably inflation and changes to Fed policy. I think that will probably cause more of a reaction than I think the delta variation is one of those things that we can deal with as a country. Any comments on 10-year bond yields? I mean, at this point, they have come way down versus 1.7% when it comes to the 10-year Treasury yields. And that's really coming off of the Fed just kind of saying we're going to keep on doing the same thing until we fully recover. So the yields, being down, 1.7 to 1.2, I think it's just factoring in that the Fed's not going to raise interest rates for at least a year. And that comes to the whole, inflation is going to be a bigger issue because they're kind of shoving it or kicking the can down the road, as they say. So I think when that kind of pops, that will cause a bigger correction in the market. I don't think it's going to crash things, but I think a correction of 10 to 15% is overdue. Now, if the stock market runs up 20% and then corrects 10 to 15, I mean, it's over the long term, those corrections are kind of blips. All right, what is Apple doing? Apple's not giving us anything. All right, consensus right now, Google beat, Microsoft beat, Google smashed. Yeah, we'll say Google smashed, Microsoft beat, and then we're just waiting for the big guy. Come on, Tim Cook. Give me something. Spy calls printing. Are SPACs dead? SPACs are, they're hit or miss. They're no longer free money. SPACs were interesting back in the day, back in, I want to say, the later half of 2020, SPACs were literally free money. You threw money at anything, and it was trading 20 to 30% above net asset value. Those days are over. I think if the SPAC takes over a good company, there's still room. Oh man, Google's up 4.3% now. Oh. Okay. Someone on YouTube, why don't I go through AMD? Did AMD report? They must have. Someone's bringing it up. Let's see. AMD's up 2.2%. Where I'm going to have to go to their investor relations. Investor relations, AMD. So I don't have that big of a position. I have like a $100 position in AMD. It's very, very tiny. The latest financials. Okay. Let's see. I'm pulling up AMD for anyone wondering what the hell I'm doing. Oh, nice. Revenue for AMD up 99% year over year. Gross margin expansion. It's good to see. Operating margin expansion. Net income's good. Yeah, I mean, what were the estimates on AMD? At this point, I don't know if you guys saw my video on the Intel earnings, but Intel is basically priced as a dinosaur stock that needs to turn around. AMD is positioned as, I would say, around fair value, and it's like consistently growing. And then Nvidia, I think, is more of a hyper growth stock, or that's kind of how it's valued. So you have, Intel, kind of the value play. AMD, I mean, it's more of a growth stock or kind of a stalwart. And then you have Nvidia, which I would say is more growth related. But let's see what the analysts thought those revenue estimates were going to come in at. So average estimate on revenue was 3.62. They came in at 3.8. So they beat on revenue. And then estimates for earnings per share was 0.54. And they came in at 0.58. So I would say pretty small beat for AMD. And yeah, up 2% after hours. So it looks like decent numbers. I mean, everything is expanding. I would have to read further into kind of their outlook. I mean, the outlook for a lot of these companies is extremely important when it comes to these earnings, because they kind of have an expectation for the results, and it's just one quarter. And then if the company announces like, oh, we're going to get gross margin of like 55% by the end of the year, everyone's going to lose their minds. The one concern I have for AMD, which I didn't touch in the Intel earnings video, was that they are constrained on their supply or their production capacity, only because they don't make their own chips. Did Teladoc? Ooh, Teladoc's getting hammered. Down 7%. Yeah, we should care about Teladoc as well. Let's see. So AMD looks like a decent beat, or I would say a small beat. Teladoc is getting hammered after hours, down 8%. So let's see what's going on there. Teladoc is one of those stocks that I am in, and definitely more of a speculative play. Teladoc is all about the revenue growth, so let's see. I'm looking for a press release or something to give me an idea of the numbers. Oh, okay. Whoa, wait a second. So Teladoc, I'm looking on my screen right now. It's on Yahoo Finance. But second quarter revenue grew 109% year over year. Okay, see, nothing has changed in my mind with Teladoc right now then. The big number that I was looking for on Teladoc is this revenue outlook that they would keep to $2 billion by the end of the year. And it looks like they've kept that kind of pretty much constant. I'll have to dig into this further, but I'm not sure. I know the last time Teladoc got hammered after earnings as well, down to 138 after hours. But their guidance on the full year, and I was hoping that they would hold that $2 billion level, and it looks like they restated that, which is good. All right, Apple is out, people are saying. Okay. I don't know. Apple is like not changed at all after hours. Starbucks is down. Someone said Apple is out. I guess on Instagram someone said Apple is out. Is that true? I still don't see anything. Those bastards. Give me something to look at. I feel like Apple's normally like instant, unless they're gonna release it at 3:30. Let's see. I do want to look at. Someone said Starbucks. Let me look at that. Wow, Starbucks got up to 126. Man, they've had quite the run over the past 5 days. Down 3.8%. Let me see. Investor relations. I'll take a look at Visa as well. It's hard to do this live. SBUX. Okay, revenues are obviously up, but their comparables versus last year are probably extremely slow, or small. Okay. Estimate on EPS was 0.77. They came in at 0.97, so they beat their. What is it? Everyone is beating, and like, who is lowballing these estimates? I feel like the estimates are always lowballed because it just seems like all these companies always smash. High estimate, average estimate on revenue was 7.24. They beat on, yeah, so SBUX, it looks like they beat on revenue and EPS. But SBUX was actually a company that I sold off my position only because I thought they ran ahead a little bit too fast versus like where they are. It's kind of the same thing as Disney. Apple. Did it come out? I still don't see it. Like, okay. It must have came out. It's actually moving. 1.3%. Apple. I just don't see an article. I'm looking at their investor relations website. Where are you seeing? You're seeing 81.4. Where are you guys seeing that? I hate that I can't, or it's not on the investor relations website. Why is that? But just invest in world funds for more than 20 years and you're good to go. Yeah, index funds are always a good option if you're trying to be passive. Bloomberg Live. Oh, let me look at Bloomberg. Nope, that's April. Ugh. Have to pay for. Sorry guys, trying to find the Apple numbers. I know I'm not talking. I'm just trying to find the actual numbers so I can talk to them. EPS. All right, so let's look at really quick what the expectations for Apple were, just to get an idea. So estimates on revenue was around 73 billion, and then estimates on EPS was around $1. So once I actually get the numbers, I mean, someone on Instagram you're quoting the numbers, EPS of 130 and 81.4 on revenue. I mean, that sounds like a beat on both ends, but kind of as expected, Apple is not moving that much. Looks like, yeah, I mean, that's obviously a beat. But man, I really wish I could actually see something here. Yeah, no, I'm live on Instagram and YouTube. So, okay. Rahul, you're giving me something to work here. EPS 130 versus estimate of 1. Revenues 81 billion versus 73. So yeah, I would call that a pretty good beat. Pretty good beat on Apple, yet the stock is not really moving too much. And we have to remember, like if you look at the chart going in, and looking at SPY, right? We're at all-time highs, and a big part of that is these big tech companies. Apple, since the beginning of June, went from 125 to 150. It's had quite the run up over the past basically 2 months. So with that being said, the earnings expectations were pretty high for these companies. Out of any of them, I would say Google smashed the most. Google's earnings crushed estimates, whereas Apple, I mean, yeah, they beat, but I don't think they have the same growth rates as Google. And it'd be nice to actually see something to look at, like a press release. But for whatever reason, I can't find that. But the guy on YouTube comments, thank you for giving me that. You see it on TD Ameritrade. Yeah. So overall, looks like we had beats across the board for most stocks. I mean, Google was a beat, Apple was a beat, Microsoft was a beat, Starbucks looks like a beat. Oh, someone was asking about Visa. Visa earnings report. Yeah, oh yeah, AMD beat. Yeah, AMD beat pretty good. Let's see. Okay, we got some numbers for Visa. So Visa came in at 5.7 billion in terms of revenue, and their earnings per share was $1.38. Not much growth year over year, but Visa is one of those companies that's bouncing back a little bit. I think this is going to be the last quarter that's a pretty easy comparison. Q3, well, no, maybe Q3 will still be easy comps for a lot of companies. But Visa, 134 and 585. So it actually looks like Visa kind of missed. They missed on revenue. They basically met revenue and they missed on earnings. Yet the stock is pretty much flat after hours. I would say that's a gift. Any company that's meeting and you're not getting movement, I would say that's a pretty good situation. And yeah, Apple still very flat. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, for the most part, the companies that we're looking at beat. I know I didn't go too much into detail, but I just wanted to hop on here and kind of give my quick thoughts on these companies. So pretty much most companies beat, and yeah, we'll see how the market reacts tomorrow. Maybe Google will carry the entire market, because Google's currently up 4.7% now. So if you have Google, that's the winner as of now. What's good, Sam? Did you buy some call options on Google, Sam? Because that's I don't know. Actually, I don't know what the expected move were on these stocks, but they all look like they're inside moves, except Teladoc. Teladoc is getting wrecked. When I say wrecked, it's down like 7%. Yeah, it's rough. All right, guys. Thanks for joining the live. I'm going to probably end it here, but appreciate everyone joining. And yeah, doing lives on earnings, kind of fun, but a little hectic on figuring out where I can actually find the numbers pretty quickly. So, all right. Take care, guys. Bye. Everyone on YouTube, I'm going to end it here. But like I said, for the most part, a lot of these companies are beating, but a lot of inside moves. So either down small or up just a little bit. I would say of them all, Google's the winner. But I appreciate everyone that joined the stream.